Welcome back to the channel. We're here today and we're here for an annual video that I do every single year. I'm going to be picking today 5 players I think Wrexham AFC should go out and sign in the summer transfer window. We're approaching our second season in the second tier, and I think it's fair to say that we've learned from our mistakes, we've learned where we need to improve in the starting 11 going into next year to be even more competitive, and I've picked out 5 players that I think could take Wrexham from here to here next year. So before we get going in today's video, if you're looking for the best Wrexham AFC content, it's coming your way on the channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. It's free to do so, and this is your hub for all the best Wrexham content on YouTube. Transfer news, general news. We're going to be having a look at all of our pre-season games over the course of the summer and doing a lot of content on that. And also as well, we are on the road to 29,000 subscribers, so any support would be massively appreciated. You smashed the like target on the last video, and as I promised, this is the follow-up video from that like target. So without further ado, let's get into my first pick. So my first pick is Terry Develin. Now Develin is a name that you'll have heard of from the previous video, as Wrexham have shown concrete interest in the right back for Portsmouth in the Championship, and of course Develin was a target of Phil Parkinson's at the end of the January transfer window, and given the fact that Cabore's loan is expiring in June, I can see us entering the market for a new player to fill that void down the right hand side. Now I don't think it gets much better than Terry Develin for our price bracket in terms of what we're willing to pay for a right wing back, especially for the quality and the price that I think we could get Develin for. I don't think it does get much better. We're looking at last year for Portsmouth. He had a fantastic year. Player of the season, player of the season, goal of the season. He's 22 years old. He's represented his country on the biggest stage in some big games already, and he's had such a good season in the Championship for Portsmouth that he'll no doubtedly attract higher up interest from sides in the English Football League. And I think he should be really high on Phil Parkinson and Wrexham's wish list, because if we've shown interest before, Wrexham will get in there and hopefully secure the services of Terry Develin. We saw the Portsmouth manager say that they think they'll struggle to keep him in the upcoming transfer window. It depends if there's interest from Premier League sides, from Championship sides. We really don't know, but what I think is guaranteed is he'll have a lot of clubs lurking for him. Looking at what Portsmouth fans have to say on their flying wing back over the course of the Championship season, it seems like all positive for Terry Develin. He's a player that's going to run his socks off for 90 minutes and plays with good intensity, similar to Cabore, but like I said in the last video, Develin looks an option that is going to be less erratic and a player that can lead the side, unlike Cabore, who is a bit inconsistent with his performances. But I think the one thing that takes away losing Cabore to Terry Develin is that more attacking minded player. We've seen Cabore gets the ball, takes on his man. It's what you want a wing back to do in this day and age, because we see so many players now cut back and pass the ball back, but Cabore plays with such high speed and intensity down that right hand side. He's not afraid to take on his man. He loves to dribble, but I would look at Develin, I'd say he's more of a flat right back role in terms of what he's played at Portsmouth, and that could possibly have an impact on his attacking output. And also looking at the Pompey fans' opinions as well, they've said he could be a future captain for the side, and he's made some really good leadership qualities his own over the past couple of years. Just being 22 years old, if you're getting those words said about you, I think you're doing something right. And statistics wise, he is thoroughly impressed for Portsmouth last season. 22 chances created, 15 successful crosses, 14 successful dribbles, 195 duels won, and the list could go on for Terry Develin. He was the top performing right back in his bracket in the Championship last year in a lot of different categories. He has been absolutely fantastic for a mid-table Championship side, and hopefully a fee of £5 million upwards could do the job for the Northern Irish international. Moving on to my second pick, it's Ethan Galbraith of Swansea City. Now in recent weeks we've seen that Galbraith has had a halt in terms of contract extension at Swansea City of the Championship. We've seen him as well impressing in his first season in this second tier for Swansea City down in South Wales, and if I was Phil Parkinson, I would look at this situation and think he's struggling to agree terms with Swansea, which means he holds his ambitions higher up the leagues, and he does believe that he could be a player that could be a useful asset for a team that's higher up in the Championship. Wrexham narrowly missed out on the playoffs. We saw the interest that was in Ethan Galbraith. We've heard exclusively that Phil Parkinson tried to get the midfielder in the January transfer window, so we know what Parky's like with players, and when he's unsuccessful in one window, he'll follow up that interest and try and secure the services in the following window. So it wouldn't surprise me if Ethan Galbraith was, a player that's heavily rumoured in the coming weeks in the transfer window, because not only because he was linked to Wrexham, but I do think he would be a very good signing for us. He's 24 years old, he plays in central midfield for Swansea City, and is most importantly a midfielder that carries a lot of attributes that have stood out in the Championship this season for Swansea. His versatility as well is something that Phil Parkinson would appreciate in terms of him coming into the Wrexham side and filling up a couple of positions if needed. We've seen him feature heavily in that central midfield role for the Swans, but at times he slotted into that right wing back spot really well for Swansea. Something again that I think Wrexham are going to be targeting, two areas of the pitch where we're going to need strengthening in if we are to go up to that higher level, like I said earlier on in the video. And Ethan Galbraith can cover that right wing back spot if needed, and can most importantly have an effective role in the central midfield role, which again, like I said, is two roles that Wrexham need to strengthen in. I think if you are looking at Galbraith as a midfielder as well, he's a midfielder that's always going to be heavily involved in the play. If the ball's going to be in the midfield, it's going to go through him. If they're going to create a chance, it's going to go through Galbraith. He's a great passer of the ball, he's got great work rate, good ball progressor as well, and ultimately he is a player that you can rely on to put a solid 7 out of 10 solid shift performance in the Championship on a consistent basis, which again is something that I think Wrexham need. I think obviously the midfield has done so well in the Championship season. I do think bringing a player like Galbraith in and maybe another midfielder just to push that competition and add that depth even further would just do us the world of good, because we saw what happened last season with the injuries to Ben Sheaf, to George Dobson, to Matty James. We were left a bit weak on the midfield front in terms of options, so bringing a player like Galbraith in for his age and possibly the fee that we could get him in for, I think we should be all over this. And I think his effectiveness on the pitch for Swansea can be backed up via his stats. 60 passes per game, 81% pass accuracy and 0.9 key passes per game. So like I said, it just backs up the fact that he's heavily involved in the play. He likes to get on the ball, play it out to the wing backs, the wingers, whatever Swansea City playing in their setup. I think Galbraith is obviously going to play a massive role in that, and if he does stay at the club next season, I think they'll be really happy because he's been a key player for them over the course of the 25-26 campaign. I think as well the thing with Galbraith is I briefly touched on his defensive side of his game as well. If he's called upon to play there, I think he'll be really solid. 54 clearances, 39 interceptions and 168 duels won. So Ethan Galbraith is sort of that Mr. Versatile player that you can offer in your side, and something that I think Wrexham would really appreciate if we did bring him in. If we're looking at Galbraith for a transfer fee, we'll have to wait and see what happens on the contract front. Swansea might look at this and think we're getting no further in terms of offering him a new contract and getting his services for the upcoming seasons. Let's offload him when we can, when his stocks are high. Moving on to the next option, it's another midfielder, it's Jordan James. Now a name that again Wrexham and Wales fans will be all too familiar with after last summer's antics. I've got a video on the channel of when he was prepared to sign for Wrexham, which to this day is still privated, so there is long-lasting interest in Jordan James, and I think it couldn't have gone any better in terms of possibly securing his services, because we saw Leicester City relegated to League One, and I do think they had a buy option in Jordan James's contract, which, as we know by now, relegation, they'll be heavily impacted financially. They won't be able to do that. He'll return to Stade Rennes in France, and I think a move back over to the English Football League is more than likely for Jordan James, and I really do think Wrexham should be over this, because I think it's a very disappointing season for Leicester, but on the whole, Jordan James won their player this season, and I think he was one of the few positives in a very poor season for the Foxes. If you are looking at his stats as well, I think it does just back up the fact that Jordan James is a very good player. 15 goals and assists in the league in just 27 starts for a relegated side in the Championship, and at 21 years old he carries so much experience in the Championship for Birmingham City, for Leicester City, where he's made collectively 140 appearances. At that age is absolutely fantastic, and to get that experience in, I think in this Wrexham camp, as well as injecting that youth into the midfield, would be a very good addition. Like Galbraith, James is a box-to-box midfielder who covers a lot of ground and is an effective ball carrier, but I think the thing with James compared to Ethan Galbraith is the fact that he has that goal output going forward as well. Not only can he do the dirty work, the running in the midfield, and has that good defensive side to his game, but going forward he has that attribute of he can score and he can create, which every manager in the Championship will be licking their lips at, and especially Phil Parkinson, because 15 goals and assists, like I said, for a midfielder that isn't that playmaker you could say in this current day. He is everything you want from a midfielder in this division: running, consistency, and you're going to get that from the Welshman. We've seen it in the Wales national side, we've seen it for Birmingham, we've seen it for Leicester, and I do think it is a shame for Jordan James this year that he's been involved in a squad with horrific mentality, because it was a good personal season for him, and I think going to Leicester at the start of the year he believed that he could have got Premier League promotion with the Foxes, but it couldn't have gone any worse for him, and I think a move back to the EFL will be more than likely for him, and I think Wrexham should be all over this. For a fee of probably £3 to £4 million should do the job for James. Moving on further up the pitch, my next pick is an outrageous one and an ambitious one. It's Troy Parrott. Now, It's a big choice, it's a bold choice after the year that Troy Parrott has had, but if Wrexham is serious about going that one step further to the Premier League in the upcoming 26-27 season, Troy Parrott should be on our radar. His stocks will be extremely high at the minute over the course of the season that he's had for club and country, but our club has been built on ambition over the past couple of years. Going up from the National League to nearly the Premier League, I think we should be ambitious and we should go out for Troy Parrott. If you're looking at his stats as well in the Eredivisie for AZ Alkmaar, he's got 30 goals in 45 games, and he's also scored some big goals for the Republic of Ireland in their World Cup qualifiers. And I think given the season he's had already, just in the space of those 12 months, he's cemented himself as one of the most on-form strikers in Europe this season, for club and country that is. Having watched a lot of his goals this season in a compilation, and when I've been working hard to put this video up and looking at different striker options, I think he's the type of striker that would really suit our needs at the minute so much. He definitely has those traditional values of a striker, a sharp eye for goal, doesn't overthink in front of goal. If he gets the chance, he will just bury it. A bit like Paul Mullin in the National League League 2 days, when he would get the ball going forward, he would just unleash a shot. No matter where he was across the pitch, he would just have a shot, and he's got a great eye for goal, and he'll shoot whenever he does have the opportunity and loves to find space between the lines, opposed to having a battle with the centre-backs for 95 minutes. A bit like what we currently do have in Keith Moore and Sam Smith. I think if you're looking at Troy Parrott, the price tag for him would be absolutely through the roof. I think you are looking at 8 digits for Troy Parrott, and especially what AZ Alkmaar will hold him at. I do think for him, he'll be looking to get back over to the EFL, whether it's this season or next season. I do think, given the stats of his last year in the 25-26 season over in the Netherlands, 30 goals, he'll be thinking, I could get a Premier League move. If Wrexham are ambitious, we should put our money where our mouth is, like we have done in the Championship previously, and we've seen crazy things happen at the football club, and it could be a big statement signing. I think it's a similar profile to Ipswich Town signing Tubrak Pom last season. Yes, he didn't do too good, but I think if you are looking at a player like him, the goals that he's produced, I don't think he'd have any issue in bringing those goals from the Eredivisie over to the EFL Championship. And moving on to my final pick, it's another striker, and it's another rogue one. It's Keisuke Goto. Now, Goto would be an extremely cheap option in comparison to Troy Parrott, and I think it's one that's well worth a look at, not only just in terms of me saying he could sign for Wrexham, but I think he's in terms of what he could do in his career further on, because he's had such a successful first season over in Belgium. At 20 years old, Goto is still developing as a player, but he wouldn't have reached his full potential yet, and I think he's had such a good season. And if we are looking at the type of play that Phil Parkinson does like a striker to be, the profile that he does like, Goto is 6'3", and he'd mirror the style of play that we see from, like I've just said, the likes of Keith Moore, Bailey Cadamachi, Sam Smith. So Phil Parkinson could be looking at Goto and thinking, that's one attribute that he could have that obviously he loves having up front in the forward line. He's good at holding the ball up, can impact the game with his aerial attributes, and ultimately, again, he's another striker that's got a really good eye for goal. He's got 11 goals in his first season in the Belgian first tier, whilst also providing 7 assists. So he's impacting the game for his club over in Belgium in various different ways, scoring goals, creating them, being that player that's going to be in that link-up play. And at 6'3" as well, Phil Parkinson, I think this is right up his street and a player that he would absolutely love to bring to the club. I think the main question is whether he's good enough to come into the Championship and be a starter. I'm not too sure yet. We've seen Bailey Cadamachi as well have a really good first half of the season and just barely get any minutes. So I think Goto on that sense would be a bit of a risk, but I think if you're looking in comparison to Troy Parrott, we would pay a fraction of the price for Goto, between I'd say £1.5 and £2 million. It's a bit of a niche choice, but a player that I think everyone should keep their eye on in future years to come, because for his first season in men's football, 18 goals and assists, I do think he's got a bright future ahead, and we've seen the talent that could come out of that Belgium league previously and have done really well in the future, so this could be one that Wrexham keep on their radar. So that is it for today's video. If you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like, make sure to get down in the comment section down below as well and let me know your 5 players that Wrexham should sign. Do you agree? Do you disagree with any of my choices? If I was to go for maybe 7-8 players, I'd maybe look at a new goalkeeper, I'd maybe look at another striker, centre-back. It could have gone on forever, this video, but if you did enjoy, make sure to drop a like, subscribe as well. If you are new to the channel, like I said, we're on the road to 29,000 subscribers. There's plenty of content to come out over the summer, so make sure you click the notification bell so you're notified every time it does come out. And until the next one, take care guys, up the Championship Reds.